Okay, if you can take your seats, please, that'd be appreciated. Okay, thank you. All right, good morning and welcome to ITAP LogiSYM 2021, which is the Logistics and Supply Chain Conference here at Industrial Transformation Asia Pacific. Can you see my screen? Sorry, I was muted earlier on. But seriously, isn't it good to be back at a physical event after almost 2 years of being alone, home alone, wearing polo shirt, maybe trousers? So I know a lot of people were making jokes earlier on about they couldn't find their shoes, they couldn't find their tie, they couldn't find their shirt. So I think it's going to take a while to get back to the habit of doing this in public rather than doing it at home. So my name is Bob Gill, member of the Organising Committee for this year's event, and I'll be your MC for today. Now, before COVID-19, at events like this, if you had a safety briefing at all, it was basically, the fire exit is over there, and nobody was listening anyway. But of course, things have changed, and I do need to give you some important information related to the health and safety of you and everyone you'll be meeting today, and you'll be around today. So, some frequently asked questions. Do I need to wear a mask? Yes, wear a mask at all times except when you are eating and drinking, obviously. Can I move between tables? Yes, you're free to mingle as this is a pilot-approved event by STB. Make sure you're 1 meter apart from each other. So no hugging, no kissing, no shaking hands, I guess. Is the max gathering size, is it 2 or is it 5? Well, you can actually, as I said, mingle freely and just stay 1 meter apart. Don't worry about the group size. Can I ask questions during the conference? Yes, so you'll see a standing mic over there in the center, and there will be someone to clean and sanitize that after everyone's question. So don't worry about getting affected by the mic. Can I leave the conference hall outside of scheduled breaks? Yes, you'll be glad to know you'll be free to exit and re-enter, which is good because I was at my first event about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and at that time, if you even wanted to go to the toilet, you had to put up your hand. So it's being like 6 years old again. You're back at school. So, but you'll be free to know you can. You'll be glad to know you can walk outside anytime you feel the need to. Also, when you're visiting the tabletops outside, there's 3 of them. Keep 1 meter apart and do keep your mask on. So for lunch and tea breaks, these will be served to you at your table, and that's the only time you can actually take your mask off. When you finished your food and drink, mask up immediately, okay? For speakers on stage, only remove your mask when you are heading up to the stage and put it back on when you're moving down and going back into the audience. And and some better news, some good news. From 5:30 tonight, you're invited to a special drink session at Timbre Plus, which is at Hall 5. So complimentary food and drinks for all LogiSYM attendees over there. So do take the opportunity to get some real social interaction going after so long, okay? So those are the safety briefings. I was told we have some safety ambassadors going to be around, so they'll be watching every move. So make sure you listen to what I just said, okay? So now, as some of you may know, if you've attended LogiSYM before, all the members of the Organising Committee are volunteers. So this is something we do outside of our day job. I mean, we've been working pretty hard over the last 6 months to develop the conference agenda and bring in a stellar array of presenters and panelists. But no one has been working harder than the person I'm going to introduce you to now. And she is Stephanie Krishnan, Chair of the Organising Committee and Associate Vice President at IDC Asia Pacific. So Stephanie, can I welcome you up for your opening address? Thank you.
Thank you for disinfecting. And thank you, Bob, for the opening remarks and the introduction. Good morning, colleagues and fellow logisticians, and welcome to ITAP LogiSYM Singapore 2021. I look out to you all and I see familiar faces and I see new faces. But most of all, I can see legs. And you're all wearing trousers or skirts. Thank goodness for that, as Bob pointed out earlier. When I stepped off a plane from Nashville in 2020, around March, I didn't think it would be my last flight for almost 2 years. I suspect many of you have similar stories. We've all learned new terms like PET, like flattening the curve, and like social distancing. Who knew that was a thing? Social distancing, it's something we all have to live with and be mindful of now. In fact, our kids are so good at it, we don't get calls from them at all. And I'm luckier than most. I'm told that being quarantined with a talkative child is a bit like having an insane parrot sitting on your shoulder. However, I digress. Today, after having had only sporadic occasions to gather, several of us will be looking forward to being able to see and interact with each other, within social distancing guidelines, of course. As we've been isolating ourselves in limited circles in doing our part to reduce the spread of COVID-19. With this in mind, and with the added protocols required to attend a physical event, in these times, we appreciate the effort that you have all taken to carve out some time between Zoom calls and your busy schedules, time to come and share, learn and discuss, debate and network in what I'm sure will be a very fulfilling day. For those attending online, we welcome you too, and I hope we all have the opportunity to interact with our extended community as we continue online tomorrow. This year we are joining one of the premier industrial transformation events on the calendar in a collaboration to drive knowledge, sharing, and increase industry capabilities, bringing out opportunities in smart logistics and supply chain management. The focus on transformation, particularly in digitalization, is one that continues to be an area that has grown over the last 20 years, and it continues to be topical. But in this day, in this age, we are finding that we have access to the technology. We have the access to the technology, but we also have the need to use it like never before. In 2019, it was about trade wars. It was about Brexit as a result of the 2016 resolution. In 2020, we saw the pandemic. We saw it break out, and with the protective measures that sought to protect us, strains were placed on transport and labor capacity. We saw rate hikes. We saw demand spikes. We saw local shortages and regionalized downturns. 2021 brought with it the Suez Canal blockage, port closures and congestion, and continued demand fluctuations, supply chain bottlenecks and disruption. And I've never seen so many supply chain memes in my life. You get a sense of how much impact your industry has when it starts to become the topic of jokes. However, we are here at this event off the back of these events, which are pushing organizations to implement digital transformation at a rate we've not seen before. In addition, we are finally looking beyond an era of dependency on fossil fuels. And this next normal will see us competing in new ways as we continue to adapt, to mitigate risk, to address shifting customer requirements and changing regulations. So we come together today to explore in greater depth how these concepts and ideas can step up and improve resiliency and drive success and overall supply chain performance beyond what we have accomplished so far. Hence, we have the theme, Stepping Up Capabilities with Industry 4.0. I find this theme very encouraging, as while Industry 4.0 may not be new, it is a strategy of operational transformation. It brings together technology, process, and organization to deliver extreme efficiency, to deliver quality and performance. And we have the opportunity to do so with the consideration of implications for people and our planet. The prospect of stepping up these capabilities to strengthen our supply chain couldn't be coming at a more opportune time. So I invite you to join the many presentations and panels with a change mindset, engaging with the 30 speakers that will be speaking with us over the next day and a half. We have more than 200 attendees registered, joining the 5,000 plus who have registered to attend the Industrial Transformation Asia Pacific event, or ITAP. Thanks to you all for helping to make this event a success under very, very challenging circumstances. Our program, while addressing a strong digital transformation theme, also acknowledges the importance of the ecosystem in which we operate. It acknowledges the significance of change management and also the difficulties associated with the cold chain. We'll be kicking it all off with our guest of honor, Ms. Cheryl Chan, PBM, Member of Parliament of the East Coast GRC and Group Strategy and Sustainability Officer of ST Engineering. Welcome, Ms. Chan. I'd like to encourage you to explore the topics and ask questions and engage with the speakers and panelists. It's always more interesting for the speakers and the audience both when we discuss and get involved rather than sit and listen. Also, even though we have the delightful safety guidelines, courtesy of Bob, thanks Bob, there is the opportunity to interact safely, and I encourage you to do so. Participate fully over the next day and a half, and do this both online and off. Now, of course, this event is not possible without a big thanks to those that have helped. Events like these require organisation at the best of times, and these past couple of years have not been the best of times. With that, I'd like to thank everyone who has put together the extraordinary effort to make this particular event happen. Firstly, to all the speakers and panelists, for ITAP LogiSYM this year, thank you for your preparation and sticking with us through some changes as we deal with closing downs and opening ups and closing downs and opening ups. You are all dedicated professionals, and I really do appreciate you agreeing to extend your valuable time. I would also like to salute your willingness to come forward and contribute to the development of our profession. I would also like to thank all our sponsors. In particular, I would like to thank HANNOVER, Inspire Next, Blue Jay, Blue Yonder, SIVA, E2 Open, EcoPack, Fusion Over Technologies, GETS, Keyfields, One Network Enterprises, Samsung, SSI Schaefer, Semcor Industries, Slimstock, and TVS SCS. Without them, ITAP LogiSYM 2021 would not be possible. I would also like to thank our organising committee members. Bob mentioned them briefly earlier, but without them, this would not happen. And as he said, they volunteer their time. So thank you very much to Ramon Krishnan, Bob Gill, Joe Lombardo, Sanjay Desai, and John Bodle. Thank you very much. Special mention, as always, to Peter Raven, our own secretariat who helps run the society. Without him, the society would not be here, and therefore we would not have LogiSYM. James, David, Harjit, and Spencer, LogiSYM staff who have been working tirelessly behind the scenes for the last few weeks and months. You've delivered on this event, and we thank you for helping to make this program a success. The society is largely it's 100% not-for-profit and largely run by volunteers. So it is people like them and the generous sponsors that allow us to bring you such events. Now, as a member of the advisory board for the Logistics Society, I've had the great honour of being part of the LogiSYM journey. And this is our 9th year of LogiSYM in the current format, and the first year in partnership with ITAP. We have had LogiSYM Malaysia and Dubai, LogiSYM Live, and of course, there's also the LogiSYM magazine. Here today with us is the editor-in-chief for the LogiSYM magazine. I'd like to extend our thanks to Mr. Joe Lombardo. Thank you for your unwavering dedication and efforts to put the magazine out every month. Thank you very much, Joe. We also have CargoNOW, which is aligned with the ideals of LogiSYM. It is in its 3rd year, and it provides an extended and segmented reach. This year, combined with LogiSYM Singapore, holds its first physical exhibition combined with ITAP in the hall downstairs, which I hope you'll all visit this afternoon. Finally, I would like to thank you all yet again for taking the time out of your busy schedules. I invite you to share, tweet, post about today, and use the hashtag ITAP LogiSYM 2021. And hopefully we'll be like 2020, the year that went viral faster than anybody thought it would. I hope the event is a good start to what we hope is a better normal. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope we have a great event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie, for that great opening address. So right now, we have the keynote address, and that will be given by Ms. Cheryl Chan Wei Ling, who is the Member of Parliament for East Coast GRC and Group Strategy and Sustainability Officer at ST Engineering. So Ms. Cheryl Chan, can I ask you to come up to the stage for the keynote address? Thank you very much.
Ms. Stephanie Krishnan, the Organising Chairman for ITAB LogiSYM, distinguished speakers, logistics practitioners, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone that's online, a very good morning to all of you. It is delightful to be here, in person at least, to deliver the opening address for the 4th edition of this symposium. I was just earlier telling Bob that, Joel, that there isn't a lot of opportunities to be out and about, but it's a rare occasion, and I hope everyone really take the opportunity. Not that I want to encourage you to mingle too much, but really try to interact, at least intellectually. That's what we hope to do. And I hope this will be the beginning of some of the normalcy as we return to international conferences and events in the months ahead. The theme for this year's LogiSYM 2021 is Stepping Up Capabilities with Industry 4.0. This discussion is not just timely, but necessary as we observe the impact that's brought about by pandemic and the global trends. As we transit into a new normal, the need for inter- and intra-industry reformation and also transformation have become more pressing than ever. Looking at today's global economic ecosystem, a significant portion of the system is supported by complex, interdependent supply chains, which were developed over the decades with an objective to deliver products and solutions with efficiency and productivity in mind. However, many businesses have designed supply chains and built infrastructures that were around stable and known environments. Yet in today's volatile business environment, coupled with climate change, just having business continuity plans are simply insufficient. It has now become increasingly difficult to anticipate the number of new variables and the risk factors that have been directed at the once traditional, orderly supply chain management. To say that accepting risk mitigation strategies and supply chain resilience are now necessary for survival is an understatement, in my opinion. We need to be even better prepared to disrupt ourselves from within the industry before external events disrupt us. While supply chain disruptions are not new, especially many of you are practitioners in this industry, but the difference this time is actually the impact and the current scale of this impact due to the COVID-19 and the confluence of factors that accelerated digitalization is unprecedented in any way. More than any of the past events, this crisis has exposed the fragility and lethargy of the global supply chains in their ability to respond to unexpected changes in demand. When the pandemic hit, many of the production lines, as we know globally, were brought to a standstill. It was no exception. Just take an example, the automotive industry. The shortage of work and an anticipated market slowdown actually resulted in many manufacturers, for the right reason, to scale back on production, to cancel orders for the semiconductor chips that's used in the car electronic systems. And therefore, those chip suppliers actually diverted their supply chains to something for a surging demand, which is actually the consumer electronics, because there was this surge due to the many lockdowns all over the world. But what was unexpected is the car sales actually rebounds earlier than we expected. And for that, there also came about a demand for the electric vehicles. And all this concurrently actually increased that demand when the car makers were trying to ramp up their production. There was a critical shortage of the most important component in any design of new vehicles, which is the chips. In fact, for some of the typical cars these days, I heard there's up to 1,400 chips in terms of components that's required. And we can only expect that this trend will continue to increase as there's larger demand for electric vehicles, the network on-demand vehicles, and autonomous vehicles moving ahead. This will only continue to strain that particular supply. While this is something that happened in the automotive industry, it was not confined to it. They were the hardest hit, but this global chips shortage actually had spillover effects to many other industries, and the crunch is likely to remain all the way through 2022. Thus, the needs for manufacturers to refresh their product and supply strategies, from their design thinking to the improved production resilience, and even changes to user options, have to take place today. As we have observed, the global trends, both predictable ones and those unforeseen, have both brought joy and woes to the businesses and the consumers around the world. To add to the complexity, climate change and concerns about sustainability have further hastened the need for industrial transformation. It comes as no surprise how climate hazards have increased in frequency, and the severity of acute weather events have only grown in scale. Such supply chain disruptions that cripples production, impact corporates' top and bottom lines, and leading to higher prices and shortages for consumers are no longer confined to within the industry or specific sectors. While the outcomes of the COP26 brought some certainty, I hope, in terms of the global agenda on climate change for the coming decade, it is clear that businesses have to adapt even quicker to get ahead of the problem and turn their supply chain challenges into competitive advantages and drive global growth. There are many lessons to be learned from the disruptions of supply chains of late. The supply chains will evolve as businesses conduct their risk analysis, invest in digital technologies, innovate and redesign operations, redefine diversification of supplier base, and much more. Only for a simple thing, to ensure that their supply chains have improved agility, visibility, and resilience. Let me now share some thoughts on a few aspects of business planning which I feel are important as we learn and build capabilities to weather and mitigate this supply chain risk. First and foremost is a strategy I called bridging and buffering. Bridging means bridging the gap within the ecosystem through strong communication and data transparency. Buffering means having some products in reserve and the ability to do swap supplies with a network of suppliers on a regular cadence, and not only over a crisis. This is key as our focus on supply chain must be one built on trust and more seamless transfer of information. Instead, we can no longer look at our gaps in silo and plug these gaps as we grow our businesses. We need technology to analyze the gaps, enable us to exchange the data in a secured and meaningful way, and businesses have the ability to constantly flex the supply chain to test its resilience. Herein also lies the ability to go beyond the norm. For some companies, this would mean to recognize that the focus on overcoming disruption is fundamental to their business models. And to this end, it necessitates the mindset shift to embrace new technologies or processes within a conventional system. For example, using blockchain with control towers to drive supply chain transparency and traceability. For better control and secured information flow from a single source of truth, at least that's how I see it, to multiple stakeholders, whilst maintaining businesses' independence and continuity measures. Second, leverage on partnerships to manage supply disruptions. Supply chains are no longer linear functions or standalone processes. They are complex networks. The products and information flow travel within and between the nodes in a variety of networks that links organizations, industries, and the economies. But ironically, ecosystems can also create strong barriers to entry for smaller players and the new entrants, as potential entrants are not only have to duplicate these additional systems, they have to find a niche amongst the entire network of suppliers, their partners, the regulators, and their customers. However, if partnership models can be instituted and its value are better appreciated, the players in the ecosystem can bring different capabilities to the table. This will in turn maximize the value creation and reduce costs within the supply chain. Lastly, be proactive in reducing carbon footprint and incorporating sustainability as an advantage. This is something that Stephanie alluded to earlier. This needs to go beyond words and taken into actions within the organization. The future is one moving towards a circular economy where there's little or no waste in the products or the manufacturing processes. It will be one that intuitively redesign and engineer products to achieve the circular economy in production footprint and proactively monitor third-party risk with our supplier sustainability assessment. On that note, I would like to mention that Singapore is well positioned to ride and support this change towards resiliency. We recognize that 51% of all the jobs would be susceptible to automation by 2030. The government has put emphasis on advanced manufacturing and embraces Industry 4.0 by using technology to improve the processes and products as we develop our manufacturing base into a global hub. Programs like the Smart Industry Readiness Index, SIRI, Industry Transformation Maps, ITM, and the Smart Nation initiatives have helped to equip industries with advanced manufacturing practices. I'm sure some of you are here to share that today and tomorrow as well, and drive industries towards optimal digital transformation using automation and other modern technologies. And more recently, the Singapore Green Plan 2030 that was launched in February this year described our country's plans in building a sustainable and resilient future through 5 key pillars over the decade. With this, we hope to position Singapore to achieve its long-term net zero goals sooner than later and as soon as it's viable. And some of these key highlights include the need for self-sufficiency, in particularly to safeguard our food security, the use of clean energy and investments in carbon and energy efficient businesses to ensure that we leave a better Singapore for our future generations. I believe everyone that's present at ITAP, the LogiSYM, are participating with the interest to seek ideas and to collaborate solutions for a future-ready supply chain. Regardless of the industry that we come from, I hope that we can come together to build these capabilities, develop them, and form strong networks that will enable us to ride through the future disruptions and scale businesses to even greater heights ahead. In closing, I wish to thank Ms. Stephanie Krishnan, the organizing committee, for their invitation and for putting this event together. I think it's been much looked forward for, a lot of physical gathering. And I really wish all the participants a very fruitful and engaging symposium ahead. Thank you and have a good day.